Welcome back to the quickest podcast ever, brought to you by Kohl's.
Today's topic, the holidays.
It's that time again.
Yep, so I went to Kohl's and got 30% off holiday decor and St. Nicholas square finds for the table.
Perfect for the fam.
And started on my gift list with toys my kids will love.
Okay, you're convincing me.
Oh, and did I mention the extra 20% off and the $10 off when you spend $50?
Kohl's, here I come.
Select styles. Offer ends October 31st. Some exclusions apply. See store or kohls.com for details.
Fall means autumnal breezes and vibrant earthy colors. It also means fall allergens, bacteria, and particles coming into your home. So swap out your old HVAC air filter with a Filtrete air filter from a retailer near you. Let's clear the air.
Welcome to the Vibe Within podcast. I'm your host, Gab Cohen. Each week, we will connect through stories and conversations about wellness, yoga, addictions, spirituality, mental health, rituals, and everything in between. The goal is to transform our traumas into strengths to create the change we desire in our lives. My mission is to help others by shining awareness on real-life topics so we can learn new ways to heal physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Whatever you are going through in this moment, you are not alone. So let's connect and heal our vibe within.
But how can I transform resistance? Release that struggling heart into calm energy. I will make something out of nothing.
Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Gab Cohen, and today's episode is going to be a little bit of a mixed bag. So I'm going to talk about tower phases of life, which means, in reference to the tower card, it's about when shit hits the fan, basically. When everything in your life, or what seems like it, just starts to crumble, be ripped away from you, burn to the ground, if you will. So I'm going to talk about that kind of energy, those tower phases of life. I'm going to talk about the nervous system and healing, and especially healing autoimmune issues, hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's, and I'm going to talk a little about healing from disordered eating as well. So again, this episode is going to be a little bit of a mixed bag. I have tons of notes that I want to go through, things that I've been learning, things that I've been, hearing on other podcasts, and some things that have been helping me through my journey of healing Hashimoto's and my disordered eating and all these other health issues. It's been a whirlwind. It has been I feel like my life has just been consumed by focusing on healing and doctors and finding doctors, and it's just such a messy process that it can at times really feel like you don't have a life anymore. Your life has become whatever this thing is. So for some people, their life is, figuring out how to recover from an addiction or a toxic relationship, or maybe, you're balls deep in therapy and you're doing a lot of shadow work. And when you get in those realms of self-help, of focusing on your physical health, you can get, swept away in what feels like a tornado, and it's just you and all of your issues, and it can feel so overwhelming because when you're doing things all on your own, it can just keep the vicious cycle going of anxiety, of depression, of panic, of feeling like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. So I guess that's just my little spiel of how I've been feeling recently. There's moments where I feel super like a glimmer of positivity, of hope, I'm not gonna be feeling like this forever. This is temporary. These health issues are temporary. And I like to say that that is the correct and that's like the divine truth of it all. But there are weeks and sometimes months, like the entire month of September, my autoimmune stuff was just raging. I mean, it was in complete rage mode, and flaring up with any autoimmune issue, or even just flaring up with like pain in your body, can completely throw your life for like a 360. So we are now in October, and I do think that September had some weird shit happening in that month. I heard a lot of people going through these tower moments, and this episode is kind of inspired by an episode that I did, I want to say like a year and a half ago, and somebody messaged it to me on Instagram, and I totally forgot about that episode, but it was called When It Rains, It Pours. And I think that this is kind of like a part 2 to that, because if you do follow like astrology and stuff like that, the last 2 years we were definitely in some kind of cycle, especially like right before COVID. So maybe this might resonate with you, but think back to where you were 2 years ago, and you might start to feel some of those cycles patterning and kind of threading back into your life now. Because, for example, for me, that is super true for my life, because in October 2019, I was going through a health crisis again. That's when my first big wave of hormonal imbalance and hypothyroidism and my Hashimoto's and stuff, that's when it really started to get really, really bad. I remember my face was broken out like it had never been before. I've posted pictures of my before and after on Instagram, and it's really crazy. I mean, I had cystic acne. I was really just unhealthy. I was unwell, and this is when I was living in Philly, so maybe the cold weather had something to do with it. But yeah, my thyroid was not functioning. My endocrine system felt like it was shutting down, and I felt like I was dying. And so I visited Miami, October 2019, around my birthday. So this was, a little bit more than 2 years ago. And I remember sitting at my friend's pool, and I was just like, I can't live in Philly anymore. I am going to get even more sick. I need to move back to Florida. I need to move back in the warmth. And that's when I made my decision that I was going to move into my mom's house and live with her and my stepdad. And that was in that wasn't an easy decision. I didn't want to live there, but I felt this ping inside of me that was like, if you don't focus on your physical health, you're not going to have a life to live anyways. So you could, this is like me talking to myself, or my guides telling me, you could push it out and you can live in a city and you can, do what you think you need to do. And then your health will decline even more and you'll be even more fucked. So, I moved in with my mom and my stepdad, then COVID happened, and I was like, wow, physical health really is at the forefront of what spirit and what the universe is trying to like knock into our heads, that as a human, living in this time, focusing on our health is obviously very important, because we're just moving through a global pandemic. So I guess maybe I got some kind of like premonition message from my guides, not in the form of, oh, there's going to be a pandemic, but it was warning me about my own health. So I think that was a kind of a message of protection, and set myself up for, okay, I'm going to move back to Florida. I'm going to focus on my health. And that's what I did. And that's when I got diagnosed with Hashimoto's and, all these things. So it wasn't until I really answered that call and answered that message that I got from my spirit guides, and did what I had to do in order to focus on my health. See doctors, because I get in these cycles and these patterns where when I live in a city by myself and I'm taking care of myself and being all independent, I won't go to the doctor when I need to. And that has bit me in the ass several times, and now I'm in this predicament again. So, fast forwarding from October 2019, now we're in October 2021. I mean, what's going on in your life now? What kind of cycles are you repeating? What kind of scenarios are repeating in maybe a different form, but maybe your life is completely different now, but these same kind of messages and these same kind of themes are making an appearance again, maybe in a new way. And for me, it's health again. So, my autoimmune stuff, all these issues, and it got really, really bad in late August. Really, September was like my worst month. So I had to really take that as, okay, your body's screaming. You have all these symptoms that are communicating with you. Physical symptoms are the way that the body communicates when there's something wrong. So I went and started the whole process of trying to find a functional medicine doctor, a natural doctor, all these things. Dealing with insurance companies, it's exhausting. So if you're dealing with something like that, I really understand what you're going through. It's a fucking nightmare. So, I spent hours and hours every week on the phone trying to find doctors that took my insurance or that had, openings. Long story short, I ended up making an appointment with a functional medicine doctor who charged $250. And the only reason I went to her is because somebody who follows me recommended her and said that she was amazing. And I did the appointment with her, and I was very, very upset with the way that the appointment went. I mean, she didn't tell me anything I didn't know. She did tell me to get a couple supplements that I got and I've been taking, but for $250, I felt robbed. And immediately after the doctor's appointment, I just sobbed the entire day. I had like panic attacks. I was sobbing, and I felt like, okay, this is just the way that my life's going to be forever. I'm never going to get better. I'm never going to get my thyroid optimized. I'm never going to find a doctor who actually helps me, balance my endocrine system. Like, this is just the way it is. Like, nobody's going to be able to help me. So that was like a day of grieving for me. And, I think those moments are important because we learn. And one thing that I will say about my health journey, and this can kind of relate to anyone who's going through any kind of health journey, right? Sometimes the answers are going to come from trial and error. So, and that's just a big pill to swallow, because doing experiments on my body for the last 2 years, because 2 years ago was when I decided to take myself off of thyroid medicine for the first time, right? And, for a little while I felt better, then I felt worse, then I felt better, then I felt worse, then I, decided to try medication again, and then I decided to take myself off of it a few weeks ago. So my body has been one big experiment for the last 2 years in increments of like 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, okay, 3 months, something different. And now I've finally gotten to the end of the road where it feels like I've tried everything that I could, as far as medications, as far as lifestyle, diet, all the things. And now there's one more medication that I haven't tried that every thyroid expert that I talk to recommends. And like even like functional medicine doctors, and even that functional medicine doctor that I went to, who I paid $250 for, she even said at the end of the appointment, this is the medication you need to be on. I can't prescribe medications, so I think you should find a nurse practitioner to, prescribe you this medication. And the medication is called Armour. It's just a thyroid medicine. So I was just like, okay, I need to find somebody who's going to prescribe this to me. So I did. I finally found somebody who would prescribe it to me temporarily to see if it works. And I had to beg and plead my endocrinologist, who, takes my insurance. I basically went back and forth with her via email for probably 6 weeks to get her to test all the things that I was asking for, which is normal things like a full thyroid panel, iron, and by full thyroid, I mean testing everything: T4, free T4, T3, free T3, reverse T3, TSH, T3 total, T4 total, and in order for me to get all these tests, I had to, it caused me so much stress just communicating with this ignorant endocrinologist who calls herself a doctor. So, but I stood my ground, and I kept emailing her, and I kept bothering her, and I kept explaining why these tests need to be done, and I did it. So I got all the tests. I'm getting blood work this week, and then I'm starting that new medication, and I feel like I just won some kind of marathon, just by getting these 2 things accomplished that should not be that hard. I mean, we live in the United States, and which is like one of the best places to live, and just getting a doctor to prescribe a medication and get a doctor to just order all the labs that I need, it's astonishing how hard they make it. And it's almost like you need some kind of assistant just to help you with all of your doctor's stuff and insurance and phone calls and emails. And it's like, you shouldn't have to spend your entire day trying to deal with all of these health insurance, or trying to find a doctor, or you shouldn't have to spend so much of your time doing this, because it takes your life away. It rips your life away from you. So this is definitely something that can come up during a Mercury retrograde, and when you are in a Tower moment, which also can definitely correlate to you being in your Saturn return. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. I seriously love BetterHelp so much. They're one of my favorite sponsors, and I will tell you why I love them so much. When I started this podcast, I was going through a really rough time. I'm talking drug relapse, drug addiction, drug abuse, relationship issues, anxiety, depression. I was going through one of the craziest moves of my life. So therapy really helped me get through a lot of that. And online therapy is, in my opinion, even better than going to a therapist's office, because let's face it, our lives have changed the last year or so, and I just feel like online therapy is the best way to go. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist, and you can start communicating with them in less than 48 hours. They really do match you with a therapist so quickly. It takes, in my case, less than 24 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It's professional counseling done securely online. And there's a broad range of expertise available, which might not really be locally available in all areas. The service is available for clients worldwide, and it's super easy to access your account. You can log in, you can send a message to your counselor really at any time you want, and you'll get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions, whatever you prefer. I like to do phone sessions sometimes because Sometimes I like to go on a walk when I do my therapy sessions. It's really up to you. Traditional therapy can come with kind of a stressful energy attached to it. So I really love how BetterHelp is really controlled by the patient. If you want to connect with your therapist and communicate something with them, they have a journal feature, which I absolutely love. This journal feature has the option of sharing your journal entries with your therapist, but if you want to keep them totally private and anonymous towards yourself, you don't have to share them with your therapist. But I really like this feature because for many of us, starting fresh with a new therapist gives us a lot of anxiety and it can trigger us. So if you feel like that, you're not alone. I felt the same exact way. Because let's face it, a new therapist has to ask questions and try to get on the same page as where their client is. And sometimes rehashing our history of trauma and all the details can become kind of exhausting and a little bit annoying. So what I do when I start with a new therapist, like I did on BetterHelp, is I use the journal feature and I wrote kind of a lengthy email explaining to the therapist what I've been through in the last few years, where I'm at right now, what I'm looking for in therapy, and what kind of therapy I've done, what kind of therapy I'm interested in, and what I'd like out of a therapist. So this is super important. If starting with a brand new therapist gives you panic or anxiety or stress, this is the most stress-free approach you could possibly do. I love how they matched me with someone with the experience and qualifications that I asked for. I personally asked for a therapist who had some experience with eating disorders, depression, and relationship trauma. Once BetterHelp matched me with my therapist, she messaged me right away, and then I scheduled my first session with her for that week. The process is easy, effortless, and stress-free. BetterHelp is more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. So if you're going through a hard time right now, and let's face it, so many of us are, whether it's emotional turbulence, depression, anxiety, relationship issues, LGBTQ issues, whatever it is, body image, self-esteem, BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today. Visit betterhelp.com/vibe. That's BetterHelp, HELP, and join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. Vibe Within listeners, you get 10% off of your first month of online counseling at betterhelp.com/vibe. That's betterhelp.com/vibe. betterhelp.com/vibe. Go start online therapy, DM me on Instagram, let me know how it's going, and I hope that you get the help, the support, and the healing that you deserve. So, if you are in your Saturn return, the Tower card is a pretty much perfect card to explain the energies that happen in a Saturn return. And I've made episodes about Saturn return. You can just Google Vibe Within Saturn return. And I'm also going to be doing another episode with an actual Saturn return astrologer and expert. So we're going to kind of go through all of the Saturn return energies in kind of these groups. And it's going to be a really cool episode. It's going to be kind of like it actually might be like a workshop type thing that I'm not really sure. Now I'm just talking out of my ass. So, but yeah, that'd be actually really cool to make it into a workshop, like a self-help kind of workshop. Yeah. Anyways, so if you are in a Tower moment, you don't have to be in your Saturn return, but for me, I've noticed that my Saturn return has had like 3 waves of Tower energy, and now I'm in another one. And it could be because of Mercury retrograde as well, but I feel like personally my Saturn return isn't over, and I'm on like the third kind of and hopefully last wave of it. So that's what I mean by these waves of tower moments. So you might be feeling like everything is getting cut out of your life. Things are being ripped away from you, possessions breaking, people taking things back. Your living situation could be in shambles. I recently went to LA to take a little break, and while I was on this, vacation, I'm putting vacation in quotes because the day after I got there, my roommate texted me and said that there's some bad news with her mom not being well, and that she needs to move in to the apartment for a couple months. So that means that I need to kind of find another sublet. So my head was spinning the entire time that I was in LA, which was only 3 days, and it just, that is like, for me, the epitome of a tower moment. Everything could be going horribly, and I'm fine with it, but if my living situation is not stable, that spirals me into all these trauma responses, PTSD with moving, PTSD with being homeless and living out of my car several times in my life, living off of nothing, having to worry about where I was sleeping when I was like living in Philly and in LA. I mean, the amount of trauma that I've endured with moving started when I was a little girl. So it's just been this like reoccurring pattern in my life, and it feels sometimes like karmic. Like, okay, what did I do to deserve that? What did I do to deserve me never having like a stable living environment for longer than 4 months? And it really sucks because I love living here, and I really like my roommate, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to move back in. But yeah, it's things like this that will happen, especially in Mercury retrograde, and when you're in tower moments, just things start to go backwards. Things start to fall out of your life or be ripped out of your life. This could be material possessions, people, animals. But you can start to really see these patterns so much easier when you are aware of like what's going on astrologically. For me, when I'm going through a very stressful time, that means that my autoimmune stuff is going to get crazy. So the mind and the body are very connected, especially when it comes to health issues. So if you're dealing with a health issue and you're stressed out, it's only going to amplify your physical health issue. So if you are going through a lot of stress in your life and you're dealing with health issues like myself, the only way to find some kind of balance is to focus on stress management and to literally cut out literally everyone and everything that in any way stresses your nervous system out or puts you in any kind of fight or flight mode. Like, seriously, like when you're going through a stressful time, that is the time that you need to constantly remind your body that it's safe, that it's okay, it's gonna be okay. And for me, like, not talking to really anyone unless I have to, that's what I do. That's what I do because I need to protect my energy. I need to constantly connect to my body and make sure it knows that it is safe. And any form of stress to the body is going to trigger it, especially with anyone with hypothyroidism, autoimmune stuff. Anything can trigger you. Like today I went for an hour walk, okay? It was just an hour, that's it. My back and my hips are fucking killing me right now. And it's like, that's actually not normal. Like, I used to be able to walk and run and I'd be fine. But that is a clear-cut sign that something is up with your body, that your nervous system, things are moving slower. For me, at least, that's what happens when you're in a hypothyroid state. Everything slows down, your recovery slows down. You're just inflamed. It feels like sometimes, like, maybe you guys will be able to relate, anybody with autoimmune, but there's some days where you wake up and you're like, I feel like I got hit by a bus. Like, I straight up feel like I got hit by a bus. it is like, it's wild, and it feels exactly how they do explain what Hashimoto's is an attack to your body. When you have Hashimoto's, you have antibodies that, it's such a confusing disease to explain, but basically it's when your body attacks itself, attacks the thyroid, which is in charge of the entire endocrine system. And that is why people with autoimmune issues will have so many different symptoms. I mean, there's so many symptoms you can have that are all umbrellaed under Hashimoto's, hypothyroidism. So everybody is different. Everybody does require a different kind of like treatment plan. And that's what I was trying to say earlier with, being your body is an experiment, because trial and error are required in this, unfortunately. Like I said, I took myself off meds, on meds again, tried it, didn't work, tried this medication, okay, changed the dose, okay. It's like a constant dance. And the only way that you're going to optimize your health is by being open, trying new things, and finding out all the information that you need from trial and error. Because when you have all of this inner knowing with your health, with your physical body, it's like you're constantly cracking this health code. And when you know more information about your health code, then things start to be easier, Things start to get easier when you are connected to your physical health code. I think that is like such a huge thing. And I never really thought of it like that, but I feel like right now, as I'm recording this, I'm kind of like channeling some kind of like message. And it really does make sense, because if you aren't connected to your personal health code and you don't know what works for you and what doesn't, and you're having all these symptoms and reactions, you don't feel safe. I haven't felt safe in my body for years. And I know that it is possible to optimize my thyroid, and it's possible because I listen to all these podcasts with these badass women who have done it and who have, thousands of clients. And I'm trying to get some of these women to come on my podcast because they're so amazing, and they literally do more than what endocrinologists and doctors are doing. And these women are professional thyroid experts, Hashimoto's experts, and they get their, I'm just trying to paint a picture. It's like you could be so fucking sick, and it's just you're not getting the correct help, and you don't know the correct knowledge in order to get well. It really is who speaks to you. That's why I'm always listening to podcasts. And I learn so much about physical health, about what I need to do. And if it weren't for these podcasts that I've been listening to about health, I wouldn't have, stayed on top of my endocrinologist, getting those tests ordered, staying on top of it. I wouldn't accept no for an answer. I would, it's like the physical body, there's a lot of, in the spiritual community, it's like, yes, the spiritual body is just one piece of you. But at the same time, that physical body holds your place here. That physical body is literally your puppet, and if something happens to it, you're gone. So, I mean, this probably sounds so basic, what I'm saying right now, but it feels like I'm being spoken to from someone else, like I'm channeling something, because I don't feel like myself right now. and my voice even sounds weird during this episode. So what I'm trying to get at is, with this physical health thing, we can't live lives that are fulfilling and that are enjoyable and that we get to play and date and do all these things if our physical body is in constant stress, or if it's, dealing with some kind of illness or disease. It's like that comes first. And I think when life gets so stressful and so busy, the very most important thing that we should be focusing on is the easiest thing for us to forget, which is like our physical body. And we just think mind over matter, I'll just mentally push through this because I know that I can. But the mind and the body are different. Like, the mind and the body are two completely different entities. And what the mind thinks, sometimes and usually isn't what has to do with the physical reality outside of that body. And when the mind has these thoughts about how stressful life is, and I'm just going to push right through it, I'm going to pull myself up from my bootstraps, I'm not going to tell anybody that I'm struggling, that's a complete disconnection and disconnect from the physical body. So that's when things start to deteriorate. And I'll use myself as an example, and I did mention this in a previous episode, is that I sabotaged my health again. I sabotaged myself and my health again. I, sabotaged myself in the sense of going to this wedding that I went to in August, and I did not treat my body good. I got back from that trip, and that's when everything went downhill for me. Physically, my autoimmune stuff, and I think it does have to do with how hot Miami is as well. Like in August and September, those are like the hottest months, and I think that also really has something to do with how everything started to flare up. But also Mercury retrograde, also Tower moment, Saturn return, third wave of that. So it's like a combination of everything. So it's just nice to kind of see like where you're at in life and see it from all those different perspectives. Like, it's not just one thing that's happening. There's a lot of different things happening in different energies, and the reason why these things are happening could have completely different reasons. But when your body is going through physical situations and you're recovering from something, whether that is physically or emotionally, that needs to be focused on first. And so, like I was saying, self-sabotage, I sabotaged myself, and then I even agreed to sub like 15 or 20 classes in less than a month. That drained me. I got some really bad news about my grandmother, who has some kind of blood cancer, and she got a bunch of tests done, and she's not in the hospital anymore. But this was like mid-September that I found that out, and it was really, really bad timing when I found out too. I found out like 10 minutes before, or actually no, it was during my yoga class, because I was controlling the music, and I got a text during class, and I knew it was bad news because I could read some of it. So it's like that. It's like the worst timing. I feel like Saturn return and the Tower card, they work hand in hand, and they're not planning things to be smooth for you. Like, it's the complete opposite of smooth. It's worst timing. It's dropping these bombs of truth when you're not ready for them. It's horrible news in the worst places, the worst times. And you have to do your best to not react but kind of reflect inwards and then figure out what you're going to do, what your plan's going to be, what you're going to say for whatever kind of situation it is. And that goes hand in hand with like healing your nervous system. Like going slower is going to help your body heal. Instead of reacting right away, instead of reacting in anger, reacting in rage, like it's so hard, but what is going to make your nervous system feel safe, which then makes your body feel safe, and then which makes you feel safe, right? Because when you feel good in your body, you feel safe for the most part. I mean, I don't know. For me, that's how it is. When you feel good in your body and safe, you're going to be able to react to the chaos that life brings you with more just like sleep on it for 72 hours, kind of energy. Like, I'm not going to say anything for a few days and let's just see how I feel, or I don't know what I'm going to do. Let's just see how I feel in a few days, or sleep on it. Like maybe some new ideas will come in or whatever. So, Mercury retrograde this time around was not nice. There was things going on in every aspect of my life. Home, with my cat, with my mom, with my family, with money, with relationships, with, thinking about past relationships. Again, the physical health crisis and debilitating symptoms. For a moment there, during one of those full moons this summer, there was a lot of PTSD stuff coming up. There was a lot of flashbacks and stuff coming up for a lot of people. Which I feel like the summer is always there's like one big chunk of the summer that feels very nostalgic. So yeah, health is wealth. If you're not focusing on your health, then your life is going to go down the gutter pretty soon, and it's just going to all catch up, and you're going to be like, oh my fucking God, I feel like I'm dying. Like I don't want what happened to me to happen to you. Because this morning I woke up and I literally felt like I was hit by a car, And I wouldn't wish that upon anyone. But that's what happens when you put your health on hold and you think you're just going to mentally push through it. No, the body's not going to do that for you forever. And I've put my body through a lot of hell. I've put my body through a lot of hell with my past, with drugs and drinking and eating disorders and over-exercising and completely grinding down my adrenals, and just I feel like I grinded down my body to a non-working, old machine. And I'm not old, and I usually don't feel like this, but I'm recording this when I am literally in the middle of a hypothyroid kind of like crisis, and I think that it's important to record episodes like this when I'm not feeling my best, because it's interesting to take note when these things are happening too, if it's happening to you as well, because sometimes it's like every October, November, I'm feeling like shit physically, and then there's like a few months out of the year where I always feel like amazing or better than usual, which is like, I think like March, April, May. It's so interesting thinking about it from that perspective, because in that sense, it really does go with astrology. And I was listening to someone, I think it was probably Elle Russ, and she's a thyroid expert, and she was even saying you could feel completely different in the spring when you have Hashimoto's or hypothyroidism, and then you can feel like a completely different person in the winter because your body needs a different adjustment of medication, of supplements. And she was saying that's why it's so important to get labs done, at least every 6 months, so that you know what your body's doing in like the winter and the summer. And for me, I think that's seriously a big component of what my flare-ups end up being, because it's usually always in like September, October, November. I remember because honestly, December 2019, that's when I was feeling probably even worse than I am right now. So yeah, that was right around the same time, and I think it's really, there's a lot to say there with these like full circle moments, and I feel like that's also kind of an energy that you will definitely feel when you are in some kind of shift in your life, whether it's a Saturn return or some kind of transit going on that's affecting you and your birth chart like more intensely than others. Like full circle moments are called that and exist because it is important to recognize them. And once you have lived a full circle moment or a pattern and you feel like something's closing, something's shifting, something's ending, those full circle moments are what it's about. And I had a few of those when I was just in LA, even though I was just there for a few days. But it was a nostalgic time for me, because when I lived in LA between 2012 to 2015, that was like a really crazy time in my life. I had just gotten out of art school. I moved to California on a whim. My ex-boyfriend was there too, and we had just broken up. It was the craziest breakup of my life. I was, depressed. I was like living out of my car for a little bit because, shit happens. I was homeless and I was like poor, and that was just a really crazy time in my life, like 4 years there, almost 5 years. And I had a lot of moments this time around where, we went to this spa in Koreatown, or is it K-Town? Maybe it's like Wilshire. It's called We Spa. It's in LA. And when I first moved to California, I would buy a pass and I would like sleep there, because you can just sleep there. There's like relaxation rooms, and since I had nowhere to go some nights, I would just buy a pass, and I would, I shouldn't have been spending $30 on a We Spa pass if I was homeless, but to be honest, it was the safest and best place I could ever go. I mean, they have a sauna, they have charging units, they have lockers, showers. You could live there. So I did that a lot by myself, and a lot of those memories came back in when I was there. And even though I'm in like a different headspace now and like a different body, it's so crazy how easy those memories can flood through. And a lot of memories of lack mentality, of hating my job. I used to work in the fashion industry. There was a really stressful time where I literally hated my life. I was so depressed. I was so miserable. The only time I looked forward to was taking hot yoga. I've probably talked about this in episodes in the very beginning of my podcast, and like how my life was when I was going through a lot of fucked up shit in my 20s, in my late 20s, moving. So I'm not really sure why I'm talking about this, but something told me to talk about it. So these tower moments, if you are in one, it's going to feel really intense. It's like one thing after another. It's like you can't catch a break. It's like you start to get very pessimistic almost. And you start to get skepticism. You start to become more skeptical of like everything that's happening in your life. Like people call it hypervigilance. People call it, when's the other shoe going to drop? And that is not a good way to live life, because I have been living like that in and out for a long time, especially when it comes to living situations. So when my life is going through a moving kind of transition, apartment and home is feeling compromised, that is when that's the kind of life stuff that really affects me the most. I thrive pretty well in chaos. Like when COVID first happened, I was like totally fine. I tend to thrive in, when there's like crazy things that happen. Like when I broke my arm, I somehow was staying calm and I got through that surgery. That was the beginning of my Saturn return. I got through that, like no problem. But when it has to do with moving, it is very, very connected to trauma with past living situations that were either toxic, unsafe, left wounds on me physically or emotionally, relationships with friends and roommates that didn't work out well, But I try to tell myself now, when I think about, okay, well, that was, 2 years ago, some of them were 2 years ago or whatever, is that I'm actually in a different life cycle now. So that same thing probably isn't going to happen in that same way. So, that's what I think. I don't know. Like, I think every move, every apartment, every living situation is going to be completely different. Sure, I've been screwed over by a lot of different roommates, but that I just feel like it has to be reprogrammed because it shouldn't be this stressful to move or to try to find a sublet or whatever. And I know that people move all the time, and it just seems like people have such a more graceful, smooth experience with moving. It is so crazy, the shit that I have been through with moving. So I think that's just part of why I'm here. That's part of my soul contract, and that's part of, I don't want to say the karma because that feels dirty sometimes. Because then when something bad happens, like this news that I got from my roommate that her mom needs to move in temporarily, it's like, okay, yeah, that's bad news, but like, it doesn't have to be labeled as bad karma. And I think that's something I'm really trying to deal with, is like, it doesn't mean that the devil's out to get you. Like, of course, sometimes it feels like that, like, especially in those tower moments, because it's just like, well, what's next? Like, you constantly live in this state of like skepticism and fear and like fight or flight, and it's like, that is so exhausting. So I think that's what really ties back in with the physical health and the nervous system, and how can we live a fulfilling and safe life and be, feeling our physical best when our health is fucked up. And I feel like I'm losing my voice as I'm recording this, so maybe that. And I felt the urge to record this, like I needed to get it out, and I got it out. And I think now my throat chakra or my thyroid or that area, that energy channel in my body is like now closing, and I can feel it, and it's like, okay, just, you're done. You got whatever you could out. It's done. And that's what listening to your body is, right? So I'm going to listen to my body, and I am going to end this podcast episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Connect with me on Instagram if you want. If not, no worries. I fucking kind of hate it there. So, alright, bye.
But how can I transform resistance. Release that struggling heart into calm energy. Well, I will make something out of nothing. Nothing at all. You will hear me sing from the skies above. Ah, ooh. Check it. All I have is love, so I let it out. Dancing to the sun until the stars come out. I don't care how it looks or how it sounds. Alchemize that pain. I got a brand new brain. I got a brand new brain. I got a brand new brain. I got a brand new brain.
Fall means autumnal breezes and vibrant earthy colors. It also means fall allergens, bacteria, and particles coming into your home. So swap out your old HVAC air filter with a Filtrete air filter from a retailer near you. Let's clear the air.
Worried about mom or dad falling? The Symphony Medical Alert System from CVS Health helps make their home safer, even if you can't be there. Symphony works with voice activation or a care button they can opt to wear, along with smart sensors for coverage around the home. With 24/7 emergency response and an app to tie it all together, you can monitor your loved one's well-being for enhanced peace of mind. Terms and conditions apply. Learn more about Symphony at cvs.com/symphony or find it at your nearest CVS Health Hub.